know, they glorify the samurai and the ninja and anyone in between. And we did that with European history too, but if they knew the real history of the samurai, that they would backstab, they would retreat, they would come in from behind, they would plot your death. So even we can argue about when the code of Bushido started, but those morals and ethics were often the opposite. It was about winning and winning for your family, to get more fife and more rice for your family. It was about survival. And nowadays with sport martial arts, as much as I love what they bring to the field, the reason that I studied with you is because it had such depth to it. It had, when I did karate, which I still like, I can't get it out of me, this Uechi karate I started with is still part of who I am. You know, you can never really get the martial arts of your shadow out. You readjust it with taijutsu. It's so amazing how many times that we have to use this in modern day America. I use it every day, martial arts, in my awareness. Do you find that training in the martial arts gives you this spatial awareness, awareness of danger, almost a sixth sense to it? Do you find that Toshindo is really good at preparing the average person to go out into the world and kind of avoid danger at all costs?
Oh, yeah, I think, but that comes down to the training. You know, I mean, they're different teachers, and but when I was teaching, sometimes I would have, in the conflict, I would have a person smile and wave, which meant this is a buddy, this is a friend. And so somebody's like getting ready to defend, and all of a sudden they get this smile and wave. Oh, wait, I was already fighting you. And very confusing. Some students didn't like it. Yeah, no, I just want to practice. So you want to eliminate all the lead up and just practice the technique, and then eliminate all the follow up. Yeah. Well, it's much easier to do that. Yeah. We wouldn't let them do that. No, you've got to be aware of that. And we even do exercises where somebody puts their thought in their right hand or in their left hand, and you're watching and observing. Can you tell which hand? Just come grab behind the neck, something like that. Can you tell? Sometimes people, I had a hunch it was going to be this, and so you can develop that. Very subtle, but the posture you develop with taijutsu is very important. There's an upright, confident posture, which is not conventional martial arts. Now with the movies and MMA, everybody's hunching and scrunching, and you have these superhero movies where Wolverine or Spider-Man is doing all this stuff, and people can't help it. They bring that into the martial art dojo. I say, well, what's the closest thing to get hit?
Yeah.
We pull that back. And even some of my own good friends, they kind of resist that. This looks more like martial arty. But if you develop a good posture and you're dealing with somebody, the cast of your eyes, no need for violence here. I don't say I don't want to fight, because most bullies, they don't want to fight either. They want to administer a beating. So you're the one I want. So I don't say I don't want to fight. I just say, oh God, no need for violence. No need for violence. Hey, I am so sorry. Yeah, I chuckle. I'm so sorry I screwed up your day. You're the third person today who wants to whoop my tail. I'm going to get in my truck. I'm going to take off. You have a great day. You know, well, you're a wussy. Oh, yeah. And you forgot my hair's thinning too, you know.
Yeah.
But I say it from down here. So they may get it. They may get it. I mean, I'm not talking, hey, look, no need for violence. No. I say it from low down. And my posture radiates an ease, a confidence. I maintain space, so they're gonna have to take at least a step to get to me where I can counter that. And I don't back up to maintain that space. I circle. Hey, I circle a little bit, and I pull out as I circle. And so all these secrets are taught in the modern Toshindo application. So I think it's very important. And then one last thing I'll mention is the more confident we are in dealing with violence, and somebody can get me in a headlock, or are they going to tackle me, or are they going to punch me in the mouth, the more confident I am, the more at ease I become. I can tell this person's moving this way, probably going to swing. I can circle a little bit, put a little distance in there, and if he inches forward, I know he's going to do something. So I'm ready for that. I can watch. But if I don't have any experience with martial arts, I'm scared to death. It's like giving a scared person, say, well, you could succumb to this attacker, or here's a shotgun. I'm going to take the shotgun. Oh, God. It's awful, that fear, and we overreact, and then the cops come in, and horrible things happen to innocent people that way.
I love the idea of what you're bringing, what you've always brought, is a higher intelligence to martial arts. We can go down the street and learn how to hit someone from any martial arts style, and in respect to all styles, they all have strengths and weaknesses. We all know that. But to set up a higher level of martial arts where you're using your voice, your intellect, your sense of humor, even looking weaker at certain times to escape, because you realize, look, if I engage this person, I could get shot, I could get stabbed, I could have my family attacked, I will get sued, I could lose my house, my entire reputation. If they post it online, I'm gone. How to look in such a large point of view to avoid conflict in all of its nasty little ways it comes into our lives, especially through the internet. Now we have to worry about what we post on Facebook and social media. Every photo that we post is going to be there forever. Can it be misconstrued? We're not even addressing AI yet, but that's another whole depth of subterfuge. Toshindo and a few other arts very few have engaged in such a high level of self-protection. It goes way beyond what you do on the ground or with a weapon. It is an entire package, and that's what attracted me to it. I assure you, I would not be here if I was bored after 10 years. In other martial arts I did, I was bored. Get to your black belt. What's next, Sensei? Oh, just repeat the kata the way we did it 500 years ago. Well, can we adapt it to a hook punch now? No, do it the old way. It's been done this way 600 years. You must continue the lineage. But wouldn't the grandmasters want us to use the internet and adapt to a tackle and a wrestler nowadays? You know this from going through the bujinkan, which I have many friends in, and you still do. We all still do. At some point, when you broke away from that style, did you feel it was absolutely necessary to get your vision out there, living in America versus going to Japan and seeing the old ways, the ways of armor-based fighting? What made you decide to want to do that? And I'm sure you got a lot of backlash from it. That was many decades ago, and you're still doing what you're doing. And so many people that I know that are watching have a respect for you because you went and did your own thing. This is my opinion, you may agree or not. What you did to create Toshindo is the most honorable thing you could have done for Hatsumi Sensei. I mean that. You took his teachings and developed them into an American way of thinking and made them practical for all of us living on this side of the pond and brought them to life. And I don't know, I haven't spoken to him about this, but I think that he probably loves what you did. What is your opinion on that? It's a lot to throw at you, but give me your side of it and your opinion. And decades later, how have you reflected on this? What do you think about all of that? I just threw at you like shuriken.
Well, there's a learning model in Japan, shu-ha-di.
Yeah.
So shu is the beginning. You just imitate. You imitate. You see the guy do this, you do your best to do that. You don't ask questions. And that would be the early 70s, mid 70s when I went to Japan. I had a background in Taekwondo where we would always like go sideways because you couldn't score a point on the back, so you'd advance this way. It's so silly. But anyway, that's what I was used to doing. And oh God, they just ate me up. So I finally got rid of that, and like the way we would hold our pelvis to do a kick is unnatural when you're under stress. So I would just imitate. Ha is where now you come up with some questions. Well, what about this? How about that? And a skilled teacher in the Shu first phase, he's the answer man. Hey, how do I deal with this? He shows you how to do it. Just do that, imitate it. Great. Second phase, a skilled teacher becomes the question man. Hey, how do I deal with this grab around the neck? He said, well, what would you do? I mean, what would be the first response you would have? And, and they ask questions, and kind of teaching you how to be your own teacher. And then D is like liberation or freedom, where you create your own realization. And 75, 85, 90, so 20 years I studied. I had to go into Shu Ha. I had to go into the Ha phase a little soon because I was doing seminars against kickboxers and wrestlers and weapon people, and I could not win. Yeah. So I was a little immature, but luckily I pulled it off every time. And that taught me things. Nobody is gonna lunge and stop like that. Nobody. They're gonna fake and come in with this kind of shot. They're gonna grab a hold. They're gonna grab and twist and punch. None of that did we study in Japan. Nothing like that. Everything was against I still see YouTube videos. Just saw one yesterday. Old guy, he's there. He is supposed to be a modern adaptation. And the attacker lunges with this thing and freezes, and this guy hits and stabs him. Oh God, that turns my stomach. Just turns my stomach. Am I the only guy who went through bujinkan training who gets this? It's totally unrealistic. It's totally unrealistic for Japan. People don't fight that way in Japan either. My own feeling is it was a beginner exercise. So here it comes, and so now I can judge my timing and my distancing. It's a beginner exercise. I tell a story about how I taught Marissa how to catch a basketball. The first couple times I tried to toss it to her slowly, and it would hit her face and she'd put her hands together and cry. I don't think I want to play basketball. So I would support the basketball on my middle finger and hand it to her. She couldn't tell I was handing it to her. She'd grab it. She had fun. Oh, okay, that's a beginner exercise. Nobody's doing that in the championships. Right. It's a beginner exercise. But if you've been doing this for 20 years, 30 years, and you're still doing this beginner exercise, that's just beyond irresponsible. Beyond irresponsible. I feel that strongly about it.
Could it be, I'm trying to get in a deeper, for those watching who might have done both, could it be a sunk cost fallacy? Could their point of view be, I'm just being loyal to the Grandmaster, I'm doing what he asks, I'm trying to keep the tradition versus being progressive, although I think that to be traditional you need to adapt modern technology and change, which again the ninja, if we knew shinobi, they would be on their cell phones, they would be using all this information, they would be down on the ground doing Gracie and all this, even though it's repackaged. They would be doing anything in modern day that they could to win. But do you think from their point of view that they're just, I don't know, there's probably a bunch of reasons why they stick to the old style. And I'll follow up later, is it still possible to pull away principles from those old battlefield armor-based katas that we can adapt nowadays, or does that take a whole other level of skill to pull out those? I don't know.
Well, it just depends on how much you believe in your teacher.
Yeah.
So I have 45 years of studying and getting the principles, understanding it with all my training partners in Japan, and then exploring it, doing seminar after seminar. And everybody who came to the seminar was not a fan of mine.
Sure.
You know, I mean, there were rascals there. They knew, hey, if I can take this guy out, I get to be on the cover of Black Belt magazine. So I had to be constantly aware, totally alert to that kind of foolishness. And then once 96, 97 came and we decided, I can't do this anymore and call it practical self-defense. I just cannot. This is not practical self-defense. It's a historical aberration. Nobody fought like that. Even in the old days, they may have been grabbing armor, because you can't hit armor. So grabbing helmet straps, grabbing chest, you know.
Or the sode, the shoulder.
Sure. So I'm leaning and grabbing. Maybe that's what was going on. But nobody wears armor today. Maybe a motorcycle helmet. But so this was totally impractical. So I needed to take the principles, which I studied for 45 years. Oh, you could go and you could study the principles too. I mean, if you don't like me and you don't trust what I did, do it yourself. Put in 45 years, and if you're any good, you'll come up with the same stuff I did. Or just take what I did and build on that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's my arrogant attitude. You know, so for instance, if we can act this out a little bit. If you just lean in and punch me straight here, bang, I can take your balance away. If this shoulder comes way forward, bang, I can take your balance away. So we learn that in our bujinkan basics. Yeah, but now put this shoulder forward and hit me with this hand.
Yeah, that's right there.
Yeah. You cannot do that. So we have a way of handling that adapts to the principle, but prevents this from hitting. So if you don't believe in me, you can experiment around and try and find that out. But until you get rid of that, knocking it aside, you're doomed. You are doomed.
I call it bad math is another thing. I don't know if I coined the phrase, I may have, where you watch anybody, any martial art, jiu-jitsu, judo, when they're teaching it, whatever the person's doing, they have to stop time. You know, as a teacher, you have to stop time to talk about what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You'll see them throw a punch, and then the guy does 7, 8, 9 different moves around the guy that stands there. So unrealistic, but you and I being teachers for many years, you know that sometimes you have to stop time to explain, okay, I'm moving over here, but in reality he's going to whack me with the second within a millisecond. I was watching a professional, high-regarded jiu-jitsu guy on the ground the other day on a YouTube video, and he did no less than 10 different movements while the guy laid there and didn't do any resistance, no punching, nothing. And on the comment section, he was eviscerated for being the most unrealistic thing.
Really?
Jiu-jitsu, which is by far the most popular martial art now, there's no doubt, it's hugely popular, is now going through its stages of growth where it's getting eviscerated for not being realistic enough in self-defense. A sport aspect of being on the ground with control, you can't hit, many rules, your back's exposed, it's not the best for self-defense. It's great when you're on the ground, but you and I know that if you and I are rolling on the ground, your brother's going to come out of his pickup and stomp my head and kill me. Jiu-jitsu, I've noticed lately, is getting hammered on Facebook and YouTube with every video that if the teacher's not addressing, Look, the guy could pull a knife out when I'm trying to do a jujikatami on him. He could pull a gun out when my back's exposed. I haven't addressed any punches in this movement. And jiu-jitsu, as powerful as it is as a grappling art on the ground, some of the sensei are forced now to address, what if the guy's standing and punching? What if he pulls out a pocket knife? What if he pulls out a Glock? What are you going to do now? Your martial arts sucks. And now they're getting that negative feedback, which I believe all martial arts have to go through to evolve.
Yeah.
Every one of them have to go through the stage of putting it out there in the public and saying, will that really work? Without any context, does that work? Is getting on a mount on the guy and trying to lock him out in some sort of Americana gonna work when his brother is over you with a 2x4? And I think that's a good thing. I think all martial artists, when they put their stuff in the internet to get attacked by the common man, of course we know they don't have training, so how high is their opinion, but they still give it. In some cases, the keyboard warrior, all they can do is give their opinion to the keyboard because they don't do the work that you and I do. It's so interesting that I'm seeing the art of jiu-jitsu, which I highly respect. I have many friends in it, and it is very good, are getting destroyed online now because they're not bringing more of the self-defense part of it. Have you seen that? Or you must think about it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I have, for the past few months, not been real active online. I have so many projects that I'm doing right now, so I kind of find myself not online much. So I don't know that. I know from the beginning, I have several students who enjoy Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and my nervousness is I approach everything from self-defense. Right. And they say it's just a sport. I was, oh, okay, I get that. So there's one where, you flip the person over and you throw yourself back on the floor and snap their arm. And as you mentioned, I'm just horrified. I did see a YouTube video where two boys, one was skilled and one was just angry. And the skilled guy got the angry guy in this. And all of a sudden, from out of the corner of the video, you just see the legs and a skirt. And the angry guy's mom kicks the skilled guy in the head.
Yeah.
He flips off, she grabs her son and goes.
Yeah.
That's gonna happen. So I suggest my students, they don't always follow me, but hey, instead of getting your legs there and flipping back onto the ground with this, stay upright. Pull up on the arm and dislocate the shoulder, but now I'm up looking around. Somebody comes to hit me, I can get out of the way, still hold on to the guy. Let's replace some of these Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu sport techniques with a realistic approach. Not many people paying attention to me, but that's my suggestion, because everything has to do with the reality of self-defense. That's my whole approach. That's why I got into this in the very first place as a 5-year-old child. I saw bullies and other kids, confident kids picking on unconfident kids, and that was wrong. But I didn't know what to do about it. I didn't come from a fighting background. It made me mad, but I couldn't do anything about it. That was my introduction to martial arts. And I saw some things on 1950s TV situation, TV programs where kid would use jujitsu or judo or karate, and my little 5-year-old spirit was just electrified.
Yeah.
And it is the same today. Now, at the same time, when I was 5, I was looking for spiritual answers with little kid questions like, why are we here? I mean, like, where do we go if we die? Do we go anywhere? Yeah. Where were we before we were born? We talk about God. Is there really a God? I mean, is it like a big guy in the sky who has a little workshop and makes people? Or, I had those kind of questions as a child. So those were two very important things to me. Still are today, 70 years later. I've had a lot of lessons and I've had a lot of great teachers. Questions a little more sophisticated, but not a whole lot different. I'm still looking for those same answers. Ultimate practical martial art where when push comes to shove, I am more likely to get out of there in a safe, healthy, happy home. That's me. That's what I want. And the same with the spiritual questions. What can allow me to sleep better at night, knowing the wisest people on the planet have found this to be true, and that's what affects me. There are people who tell me they got involved in martial arts because of movies. Oh, I saw a Chuck Norris movie. Oh, that'd be cool to do that. Or I watched The Karate Kid, and when I was little, there were no movies. There were no movies. Some kind of video game. Oh, yeah, but I want to actually do this. Well, there were no video games when I was a kid. So that's something I can't identify with. I mean, I don't get it. But then I do get it. When I was a tiny child, I used to watch cowboy westerns. That's what we watched. And still, when I go out to Arizona, and I love to be out on the desert, and imagine being out there on a horse, and that cowboy identification, doing things your own way out in the wilderness where it's up to you and you alone. And can you see how that translated into my fascination with the ninja? Ninja was not following orders from a commander. Ninja was on his or her own. So there are those similarities in my own tiny young life and my current life. It has definitely been a very rewarding life path.
What I tend to tell people with any martial art is it's going to go in a circle. You remember the 80s boom. You were a major part of it, if not the creator. All of your books selling hundreds of thousands of copies, millions perhaps. You're on a whirlwind tour. And ninjutsu is everywhere. With Shokosugi, all the ninja movies, and then kind of faded a little bit, and then Aikido comes along with Seagal, and then you get Jackie Chan, and then you get the Bourne series. You can see everything's in a cycle. Everything's in a cycle. The questions you were talking about with the meaning of life, I've been asking since I was 10, 5. And when you're 20, you're very sure it's this answer. When you're 30, it completely changes. You have a family, the answer changes, the questions change. The people start dying around you at my age. I'm 54, I just lost my mother in February, my father 4 years ago. Your questions get deeper, they change again. I'm next. What happens now? I have far less time ahead than I do behind. I just find that if you stop asking, you're dead. I think it's in the questions itself that keeps a seeker, a warrior, a traveler, an anshu, keeps us going, is the questions keep us going. It's like the mind of a child. You can't stop inquiring about what the world means. It's so beautiful. And I find that at age 54 now, and I met you when I was 14, matter of fact, 40 years, and exactly 25 years to the day I moved to Ohio from Massachusetts. It was July of 1999. Here we are sitting here, I'll put up the picture of you and I in the Germantown dojo where I had this goofy white belt. I couldn't even tie it right. You're standing there and you didn't know who I am. There's 200 of us there. Why is it I'm still here? Why are you still here in this dojo? You and I could have done 1,000 other activities with our life. But there's such a connection with Budo, and I mean Budo in a general term of martial arts. Why is it that at your age you're still just as fascinated like a young man and still seeking the Dalai Lama and his teachings? What keeps you going? You have money, you have life, you have grandkids running around now. Why do you keep seeking? Why not just stop? Why not just flick the channel at night and make it easy for yourself?
Well, I think for some people there's a lot of fear, and so they'll grasp an answer. And this has got to 28 years old, but they've got the answer that's got to last for the rest of their life. So in effect, they're protecting and defending old answers when what they should be doing is enjoying new questions.